In the NFL, players every single year are bound to do one of two things. Either that is completely fall off a cliff and just absolutely regress, or they take that next step, are able to find a new home. Maybe it's a culture thing, maybe it's a system thing, or maybe they've been there for a couple years, just never put it together, and they break out. One of those players we saw last season was quarterback Jordan Love. This was Love's first year starting in the NFL. He sat behind Aaron Rodgers for the first, I believe, 3 seasons of his career just to explode in his next season. Jordan Love honestly started the year slow. This was his first year starting, so you got to cut the guy some slack, but once he finally got comfortable and finally set in, things got ugly. It looks like the Packers have the 4th generation next best quarterback. Like, this guy looks like the truth. He does a lot of the things that Aaron Rodgers does with his quick release, his footwork. You can just tell Aaron Rodgers literally groomed this quarterback. This guy is going to be a product of Aaron Rodgers, and he benefited greatly because of it. But we also see Jordan Love took that step himself, and he took that step and he beat the absolute dog crap out of the Dallas Cowboys. If you're a Cowboys fan, I'm sorry. That's just what happened. But this is what we see. Players are bound to progress, players are bound to take leaps, but at the same time, players also fall off or regress. And in today's video, we are going to dive into that. We are going to go over 2 players or 2 quarterbacks. We're going to keep it quarterback only. If you guys want to see other position groups, let me know down in the comment section below. But I'm going to show you guys 2 quarterbacks that I think are going to take a leap in 2024 and 2 players that I think are going to regress. You might not agree with them, so if you don't, let me know down in the comment section below. Everyone is subject to their own opinion. Everyone's going to disagree with something at some point. Like, no one's going to agree fully on everything. And if I list your quarterback, I mean, don't come from me. These are my opinions. These are my thoughts. Let's go ahead and dive into the first quarterback, as I think Deshaun Watson is bound to break out with the Cleveland Browns in his 3rd year there. The Cleveland Browns went all in when Deshaun Watson was going through a massive allegation spurt, and honestly, it looked like no one was going to trade for him. He was also demanding a fully guaranteed contract, and the Browns were the only team willing to give it to him. So here we are. Deshaun Watson is a Cleveland Brown, and he has been there for 2 seasons, and it's safe to say that he has not done great. This is not the Houston Texans Deshaun Watson that we are used to. This is a complete different version of somebody, and in his 2 seasons so far, he has barely cracked over 2,200 yards combined, by the way. He had a 58.2 completion percent in his first year. I believe he was coming off a suspension, so he played like half the year. And then in year 2, he got injured, but he passed for 61%, 1,100 yards, had 7 touchdowns and 4 interceptions in 2023. 2022 didn't look much better, 7 touchdowns, 5 interceptions. And you have a player right now who does not look like a franchise quarterback. But I think that Deshaun Watson is going to be fully healthy this year. And I think getting Nick Chubb back and getting the offensive line, I believe they lost both of their tackles. Like, their just injury curse that they were dealing with last year was absolutely ridiculous. And I think with a fully healthy team that Deshaun Watson is going to bounce back, kind of like how he was in Houston. He might crack 20 touchdowns. I think he's going to throw less than 10 picks. And I think he's going to throw over 3,000 yards. These might not be like super impressive numbers in your head, but if the Cleveland Browns can get that out of him, they have Nick Chubb in the backfield, who is coming off a nasty knee injury. But I think Deshaun Watson has everything in his power, and he will do everything in his power to lead this team to the playoffs. And at the very minimum, I think he is going to be a great game manager for this team. If he throws for 3,000 plus yards, I mean, that is way better than either of the seasons that they got. Combined, 3,000 is more than both of his seasons in Cleveland combined. He might even get 3,500. It all depends on the health of Deshaun Watson, but I think he's finally going to figure it out, and he's finally going to feel comfortable coming off all those allegations. I'm sure his head has been absolutely jacked up. I'm not saying whether he's innocent or guilty. That is not my place to say. I can have my opinion on it. I'm not going to share it today. I'm just going to say Deshaun Watson's going to bounce back. And going to the first player that I think is going to take a regress, that is going to be no other than Miami Dolphins quarterback Tua Tagovailoa. Some of you guys might think I'm crazy, but just hear me out. Tua last season passed for 4,624 yards. That led the NFL with 29 touchdowns, 5th in the NFL, and he had 14 interceptions. That is a fantastic season. Honestly, I gotta give him his props. I did not think he was going to be capable of that ever in his career. Tua looked good. I cannot lie. A lot of that has to do with the weapons around him. He has literally a top 3 receiver in the NFL in Tyreek Hill, who had a nasty season. He could have had 2,000 yards. He almost cracked 1,800. He had 1,799 yards, literally 1 yard away from 18. Had the most touchdown receptions, tied for first with 13. And he had the 2nd most receptions in the NFL, tied 119. Tyreek Hill is an absolute monster, and Tua Tagovailoa benefited a ton ton by getting him, which I mean, obviously, he's one of the best receivers in the NFL. What quarterback isn't going to benefit from that? And then you pair Jalen Waddle with him as well, and you are looking at a nasty receiver corps. They just signed Odell Beckham. I'm not sure how that's going to pan out. If he stays healthy, then maybe it'll be okay, but he's basically playing on like no ACLs, so I'm not sure how that's going to look. But the reason I think Tua is going to take this massive regression is because Raheem Mostert last year was an absolute tank. He ran for 1,012 yards, which was 10th in the NFL. He had 18 rushing touchdowns, which is first in the NFL. Ridiculous. And then he had 3 receiving touchdowns as well. So 21 touchdowns came from Raheem Mostert last year. And then Devon Achane, I mean, he had 800 yards and 8 touchdowns as well. Their running backs were absolutely ridiculous, and I just don't think that Tua Tagovailoa is a franchise quarterback. I think he is a very below average, if average quarterback. Below average is pushing it. I think he's an average quarterback. And why I think he takes this regression is because I don't think the run game is going to be as good as it was last year. If it is, then Tua's going to be fine, and he's going to be able to get things done. But if Raheem Mostert and Devon Achane do take that step back, then I just can't see Tua having a season like that. I could see Tua honestly following to like 22 touchdowns and like 14 interceptions. Maybe passing for like 3,800 yards. I just don't think he's going to have as good of a season. Maybe he gets figured out. I think Tua does fall off a little bit. I don't think it's going to be like a massive regression or he just becomes an absolute bum. I just think he's going to fall back a little bit, and he's just not going to look as good as he did last year. Then moving on to the second player that I think is going to take a leap, and that is Bryce Young from the Carolina Panthers. A lot of people are giving this man flack for being 5'10" and having an abysmal season. But that team, last year, that Carolina Panthers team, was absolute trash. I don't think this is Bryce Young's fault whatsoever. I mean, every time he hikes the ball, he literally has like a second to get it out, and there's pressure in his face almost instantly. How are you supposed to succeed at that rate? Like, you're really not. If you watch any Panthers games, you know what I'm talking about. This man had no help whatsoever. Adam Thielen was this man's best receiver. And this year, they finally got this man some help. They drafted Xavier Legette, who I am super high on. I love his game. I think he's going to be great in the NFL. They snagged him in the back end of the first round, I believe. And then they also traded for Deontay Johnson from the Pittsburgh Steelers, another big body target, which I think is going to benefit him greatly. Then they still have Adam Thielen, just Mr. Reliable. Those are 3 solid receivers right there, and I think Bryce Young is going to break out crazily, or at least take a massive step in the right direction. Last season, Bryce Young passed for 2,877 yards, which was 20th in the NFL, 11 touchdowns, and 10 picks. But basically even there, not a great season. I mean, better than Deshaun Watson, although Deshaun Watson was hurt. But I think Bryce Young figures it out, and I am not going to stop believing in him. I think he's going to be a great quarterback in the league, and people are giving up way too early on him. They have to keep building this roster. It is nowhere near complete, and it is nowhere near rebuilt. Don't get me wrong, but it is a great step in the right direction. I think it's going to benefit his game tremendously. I think Bryce Young passes for 3,300 yards this year. I think he cracks 18 to 19 touchdowns, and I think he throws 9 interceptions. I think the run game is also going to look a lot better for them as well. They drafted Jonathan Brooks in the second round. They drafted him in one of them. And they also signed Miles Sanders. So the room got a lot better, and I think they're going to be a way better football team. Like, they might not get the wins, but they are going to play games a lot more competitive than they did last year. I think Bryce Young is going to take that jump, and I think he is going to look a lot better. Now, going to the fourth and final player that is going to regress. This is going to be crazy, but I think it's going to be Josh Allen. And I mean, even if he does regress on the field, he's winning off of it. He is dating Haley Steinfeld. The man is winning. Josh Allen last season had 4,306 passing yards, 29 touchdowns, which was 5th in the NFL with 18 interceptions. A lot of you guys are probably looking at me right now like, what are you actually talking about? Josh Allen, this is like the 2nd or 3rd best quarterback in the league. You are tripping. But go ahead and hear me out real quick, because in the offseason, he lost his 2 top targets in Stephon Diggs and Gabe Davis. I don't think it's going to be that monumental. I think they did have to get rid of both of them. I think it was the right move, but in terms of regression, I think Josh Allen is going to take that step back because the season he just had wasn't fantastic. And whether I believe they should be on the roster or not, they were the best receivers on the team, and now they're gone. And then when you look at how Josh Allen just plays football in general, he is a quarterback that does play very ballsy. Like, he will throw the ball while getting tackled to the floor, he'll spin around, and he'll still chuck it up. He has 18 interceptions for a reason. Josh Allen is prone to turnovers. But when it comes to the playoffs, we have seen him turn up. We have seen him have flawless games. He just cannot get over Patrick Mahomes for whatever reason. No matter what the lead is, it's just not happening. But they got rid of their 2 top targets. They brought in Keon Coleman, which was a great move by them. I believe they picked him up either in the back end of the first or the very beginning of the second. So they went out and traded Stephon Diggs and without hesitation got Keon Coleman. So great on them for addressing the position and allowing them to get a young prospect to develop. But I think Josh Allen is going to take a regression this year. I don't think he's going to pass for as much touchdowns. I think he's going to have like 23 touchdowns, 16 interceptions. Crack 4,000 yards is definitely possible, but I think he's going to struggle. He struggled at times last year. So losing your 2 top targets, like, it only makes sense. And you got a rookie receiver that you got to try to get a connection with. It's not as easy as you think, and I think Josh Allen is going to take that drop off. I don't think it's going to be massive, but I do think there is going to be some regression there, and it might cost him in the win column. We'll see though. Josh Allen could prove me wrong. This one is kind of crazy, I know, but I wanted to throw this in there. I do think he is going to take a little bit of a drop off, but who knows at the end of the day, man. I might be 0 for 4. I could go 4 for 4. We'll find out soon. But if you guys do agree with my picks, go ahead and let me know down in the comment section below. Which picks do you agree with? Which picks do you disagree with? If I didn't mention a quarterback, let me know down in the comment section below who I missed, and give me your opinions, man. I love to hear everybody's opinions on the NFL season, what you guys are predicting, so go ahead and drop them down below. But if you guys did enjoy today's video, consider hitting that subscribe button. I post Arizona Cardinals and NFL related content, so if you're a fan of either of those, this is the perfect channel for you. But like I said, that is all I got for today's video. Hopefully you guys did enjoy. It's been your boy Mythic. Peace out.